So we're recording.
Here we are.
Hello, everybody. We're back again. It's that indomitable duo here to talk about God once again. And we're a couple of weeks later, our hair is getting longer and our studies are no tidier than they were. And here we are. And Sue has on the Faith and Spirituality sweatshirt, ta-da, which we need today because it's a bit cooler. So I might get mine out later and wear it as well. Next time, maybe next time. Anyway, this time we thought we'd talk some more about God. And when we ended the last time, Sue, do you remember you asked a question?
I said to you that I thought the bit that we referred to where Jesus says, I have overcome the world, sounded a bit on the sort of interventionist side, which we previously just kind of agreed that we didn't think God fitted that mould. So have you had a chance to think about that?
I thought about that. And since that's one of my favorite sayings, I thought I'd better try to defend God. And I think it's not quite interventionist. I think that phrase, overcome, means to have victory over. I think to intervene suggests to change or to stop, to alter. Whereas overcome implies a kind of victory over something or other. So I think that's a slight difference. And I think when we start talking about Jesus and the things that Jesus shows us about God and where we think God is, where God is operating from, I think it'll become more clear. And that's we hope will be next time. So I still find that my favorite saying. Yeah.
We'll give you that one for the moment.
Thank you. So Ben went on, if you remember, we talked a bit more about making God in our own image and asking God to be the kind of being that we want, to be powerful and authoritative and to step in and change all of our issues. And we decided that didn't work. And what we want to work with is the definition we find in the New Testament in John's letter, namely that God is love. Love. Which is a great big term. It's a noun, it's a verb. It doesn't have a human face, but it does have human properties. It's positive, it's embracing, it's kind, it's benevolent, it's not focusing on oneself. Strong, it can be very strong. Yeah. So what I think would be interesting is to then go back to some of those metaphors of God and think if those metaphors have any reality in them, they also have to go along with the idea of love. So how is it? How do they work?
If some of them are quite sort of antique images, aren't they?
They are.
Antiquated, rather.
Mm. So if we thought about the first one that we have in the Bible, which of course is God as creator. If our creator is love, wow, what does that mean? Creator is love. It's a fantastic thought, isn't it?
Isn't it? So we're designed not to be suffering, simmering fools, but to be creative and wonderful beings. Then.
Be created in love. It's an entirely positive thing. We are created in love. And creation is love. Creation is full of the creator. And therefore all of creation is good. And that's including us. That's really quite important, that creation is good. And everything about it is good and positive. And if you think of that lovely picture that the psalmist presents us of how God has created us, Psalm 139, where we read that God has formed us in our mother's womb. The thought that love has formed us in our mother's womb and knows everything about us. When we sit down and when we stand up, every word that we're about to utter, love already knows it and is in it and is part of it. That is such a positive, glorious image, isn't it?
It surely is. So it's all the benevolent stuff. So what about then one of the slightly more difficult images, shall we say? What about something a bit authoritarian, like the king? How about that?
Yes, kings. Oh, golly. Kings we usually think of as all powerful, in complete control, have the
Everything for their
absolute
own
say,
benefit.
their own benefit. Yes, they are over everybody and more powerful than anything around. But if the king is love, then what kind of power is that? Then if it's love, it's seeking for everybody else. It's not self-centered. It's still powerful, but it's love that's for others. It's love that's designed to be, I don't know, provide for others.
Yeah.
Not use what the people provide, but provide for them.
But to share and
Share, yeah.
that's great. Okay, so shall I throw another one at you?
Okay, well, give us another one.
How about judge? I'm going to judge you.
Oh, that's the one, isn't it? That's the one that people still hold on to. You know, God has a big book, a ledger, and in the ledger, you know, it says the good things you've done and the bad things you've done. And when you get it to those pearly gates, he's going to go, uh-oh, look at all them bad things, and you're going to go the other way. Like Father Christmas, you know, getting a book, and he's going to find out if you've been naughty or nice and all that. So that's a bit scary, isn't it? Punishing you for the, but that's what we kind of think God is, isn't it? We think, my dad used to have that idea that he was sure when he got to heaven, if he got to heaven, that's what he'd find.
Well, often it's your raison d'etre, isn't it? You do things so that you get a place in heaven.
Oh yeah, it's quite true. It's quite true.
I'm not
Oh,
saying that's where I'm coming from necessarily, but it's often a reasoning that is put out there from the Christian faith generally, that the church will save you from yourself and get you a place in heaven, but only if you do the right things.
only if you do. Absolutely, yes, quite. Gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Yeah. But if the judge is love, the love that made every single thing that we are, all of our thoughts and all of our being, then love understands us. And when we do bad things, which we do, love understands why we did those. I don't think people do bad things on purpose. I think they do bad things because they're hurt, they're angry, maybe they're grieved, misguided, frightened, all sorts of reasons. And there are those things for other reasons. You know, so often an abused child will react all through his or her days because of that abuse. All sorts of things which happen in our lives turn us into the kind of people that we are. So if love is our judge, then love knows all that, knows why we do what we do.
So it's tempered with compassion and understanding.
Always. Just such a comforting thought when we can feel so frightened or angry with ourselves that we did something horrible. We can't forgive ourselves, but of course God does, because God knows why we did what we did, and forgives us automatically.
Yeah. Well, I think we've probably done a couple of what you might call nasty ones. So
The nasties.
let's go back to a slightly softer or more pleasant. What about then a benevolent image? So how about one that everyone knows, the shepherd? How about that?
The shepherd. Oh, the shepherd. You know, there are little baby sheep on the fields right now. I know we can't see them because we're not going out, but such little lambs on them. They're so cute. We love sheep. I love sheep. I didn't have a teddy. I had a lamb when I was a kid. Oh. But the shepherd is a beautiful image. You think of Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And the shepherd is a benevolent figure, a guiding, protecting figure, always seeking out the best pasture, the best brooks of flowing water for their little sheep to enjoy. So it's the provisional God, the God who provides, the God who looks after. And if that is love, then it's always with the best in mind, isn't it? Always the best,
And
looking for the very
it's
best
a
for us.
caring and patient image as well, because sheep are notoriously stupid and get themselves into all sorts of fixes.
I won't tell the sheep I know that.
A shepherd has to be patient and caring.
Very patient, yeah. And smarter than the sheep. So, yeah. That's true too. Yeah. It's a lovely image though, isn't it? A lovely image. Yeah. Yeah.
So then, how about, here's another big one. How about the image of Father?
Yeah. That's probably the most favorite image in the whole Bible, because it's one that Jesus uses too, and it's very common. God as our Father, which picks up that creative side, doesn't it? That sort of creator, and includes loving. Because most of us have had loving fathers, or
Yeah.
still have loving fathers. Those of us who are lucky enough. But maybe sometimes our father is a bit of a disciplinarian, and could be a view of a loving God too. Not necessarily a disciplinarian, but a God who doesn't. The love of God is not a soft, mushy kind of love. It carries a wisdom to it, and a strength. Maybe as our father, our earthly father would try to help us learn from situations. That's the only way you learn, is by the situations you get into.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to learn through difficult experiences. But your father, well, in my case, my father anyway, would help me to learn how to get through something. He wouldn't take that away from me so that I didn't have to learn. But he would help me to understand that it's not that the world is against me or whatever. It's how things are, and this is how you learn to develop and grow.
Mm. Of course, all of our worldly fathers have been children themselves. They too would have had to grow up and learn, and so there's a lot in the love of God, which is like that, which is watching us and guiding us as best love can, and knowing that we have to learn. And when we fall down, there's a sense in which God is ready to pick us up again,
Yeah,
in that
sure.
fatherly way.
That's true. So you speaking about father, it also reminds me that takes us back almost to the psalm that you talked about the mother image. It's almost like we've come full circle. But what about the prodigal son? There's a father image, is it not?
That's a perfect image, actually. And I think Jesus tells that parable. He tells it in Luke's gospel. And he tells the parable precisely to illustrate this aspect of God, or what God is. And that's his main illustration, that God is like that father who welcomes home his son who's been a complete scoundrel. He took the money. Do you remember the story? The son wants his inheritance. Off he goes. He leads a wild life, regrets it desperately, thinks he's no lousy good, comes home groveling, and father welcomes him with open arms and kills the fatted calf. That's my favorite. Let's have a party. Yes,
Oh,
party. Poor cow, yeah. I heard a little joke the other day about a Sunday school teacher telling her children that story, and they, at the end, now who do you feel was really the most upset by all this? And the little child raises his hand and says, "The calf." Fatted calf. And if anybody'd like to read that story, by the way, it's in Luke chapter 15, verses 11 to 32. It's a lovely parable, probably one of our favorite parables, because it shows God as the loving, completely forgiving, always welcoming Father that he is. So it's wonderful.
It is. It's a great story.
Mm.
So, Cynthia.
That leads us perhaps to the next topic, which we could do next time, namely some of the great stuff that Jesus shows us about God. And we get to Jesus, it's a complicated story because of all that we think about Jesus.
There's lots to talk about there, I think.
That'll take us a couple of these conversations.
I think so. In the meantime, if people want to comment at all, we might be able to pick up on any questions or comments that anyone wants to make. So leave a comment in the Mrs. Fox below.
Excellent. Shall I close with a little prayer? Shall we have a
That
little
would be
prayer to close? Let's prayer. Okay. Loving and gracious God, thank you for all that you are. Thank you for these wonderful images we have in which we know that they are all ways of looking at your love. They fill us with confidence and hope and joy. Thank you that you are such a loving Father to us in every way, creating us in love, looking over us in love, and filling us with all your goodness. Now bless us in all that we'll be doing in the various places that we are around the country, and help us to grow in your love. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, over to all of our audience out there.
Well, blessings upon them.
Indeed, indeed.
Cheers and see you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.